Nigeria is one of Africa's richest countries, but it is not one of Africa's strongest militaries. And that single contradiction explains everything you're about to hear. So, how does this relate to the acquisition of the AH-1Z Viper attack helicopters known as the Zulu? Well, for most of the last decade, Nigeria was Africa's largest economy. After a major GDP rebasing, it overtook South Africa. 200 million people, oil, banks, ports, manufacturing. Nigeria became the economic engine of West Africa. Then, the Naira collapsed. And overnight, Nigeria fell in the rankings. Not because its people disappeared or the oil ran dry or because cities emptied or because anything else, but because global markets repriced the currency. The country didn't shrink. The dollar label changed. But here's the truth nobody said then, and they're still not saying now. Even when Nigeria was Africa's largest economy, it was never Africa's strongest military. And remember, this channel exists to highlight stories the Western media ignores. We don't chase the headlines, we chase the truth behind them. And by the end of this video, you'll understand why Nigeria's new attack helicopters are both a breakthrough and a warning.
Venom, that's the target, that's the target. Multiple individuals came out of that building. They're in the building right next to it. Good hits, man. Right there, man.
So, in a previous Africa Power report, we covered Nigeria's new acquisition of jets, the trainers, the light attack aircraft, the rebuilding of the pilot pipeline. It looked like a turning point. It was a turning point. But jets are only one part of the equation. What about helicopters? Now Nigeria is acquiring the AH-1Z Viper attack helicopters, the same aircraft used by the US Marine Corps. The contract was awarded to Bell Textron to produce and deliver 12 helicopters at 37.9 million USD per unit for a total value of 455 million USD. These machines don't just fly, they hover, they stalk, they escort convoys and strike targets hiding in forests, towns, and borderlands. They effectively control the last mile of warfare. And in Nigeria's security environment, insurgencies, banditry, mobile armed groups, helicopters matter more than just jets in the clouds. So yes, this is real power. But here's where the deeper story begins. Nigeria's economy puts it in the same continental class as Egypt, Algeria, and South Africa. Its military, however, does not. So when the richest guy at the table still has to borrow the knife, you're not hosting dinner, you're a guest. And what audiences around the world are told is that Nigeria is modernizing. You're told that these purchases mean strength, that Africa is catching up. But What the system actually shows is that in Africa, there are only a few true economic heavyweights, we'll say. South Africa, Egypt, Algeria, and Nigeria. That is the continent's top GDP tier. But when you look at military power, the tier changes. At the top are Egypt and Algeria, the countries that are allowed to control their airspace, run full air defense networks, and operate modern integrated militaries. Morocco and South Africa sit just behind them. And unfortunately, Nigeria does not. Africa's largest population and one of its richest economies operates one full tier below Africa's military heavyweights. Nigeria has Egypt-level economic weight, but not Egypt-level military autonomy. So they're sold the aircraft and not the airspace, right? And this is structural. It isn't about budget, it's about hierarchy. What you're seeing is not random. It is a global security order in which powers outside of Africa decide how much air power each African state is permitted to hold, always below the threshold that would challenge their own structure of superiority. So this is what modern white supremacy looks like. Not slogans, not slurs, but systems. Structures that allow African states to get strong enough to police themselves, but never strong enough to challenge the structure. You're allowed helicopters, you're allowed trainers, you're allowed to fight your own insurgencies, but you're not allowed air sovereignty. So on the ground, these helicopters will change everything. Bandits who once outran convoys will be hunted from the air. Insurgent camps will be pinned down instead of disappearing, and troops will move with cover instead of hope. And that saves many lives. But zoom out. Nigeria should be Africa's air power anchor. It should be setting the security terms for West Africa. Instead, it operates with export tier hardware while others keep the command layer. The helicopters make Nigeria better at policing. They do not make Nigeria better at deterrence. And deterrence is what keeps countries safe from pressure. So you can have the muscle and still not own the gym. So this is the fork in the road. If Nigeria builds its own ISR networks, drone helicopter integration, electronic warfare capability, and maintenance and data systems, these helicopters become the foundation of real sovereignty. If it doesn't, they become very expensive permission slips. This builds on what we've covered in the jet episode. The difference between flying and owning the sky, right? And next time we're going into Africa's drone and satellite race, the invisible layer where real independence is now being decided. So Nigeria didn't just buy helicopters. It exposed a system that keeps Africa powerful, but not free. So, mashallah, that's your African Insight for today. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe because I'm Mr. EmpowerTV. We don't chase the headlines, we chase the truth behind them. This is Mr. Empower, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.